Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the fact that the grass isn't greener regarding tax policy outside Thailand. First of all, I'm going to be quoting an article from Pattaya Mail, pattayamail.com. Article is titled, Expat Dream Shattered in Thailand, Cock-Up, Conspiracy, or Just Plain Nonsense. This is an article in Pattaya Mail by Mr. Barry Kenyon. Hats off to you, sir. Tip of the hat. I read the sort of preamble to that article. Those who are watching this video might want to check it out for yourselves. A lot of nice things said about me. I really appreciate that. He was talking about a prior video I did where I was debunking this conspiracy theory video that's been put out there that all of Thailand is against expats, especially in the middle income, and that they have immigration connections, and those connections introduced them to a network inside Thailand of folks who are against this stuff. It was just pretty crazy stuff. I've done a video, actually, at this point, a couple of videos where I'm kind of responding to just the general tone and the ether of the internet of these people that are talking, frankly, sometimes, frankly, the analysis I recently did in one of the videos, which wasn't exactly a response, just kind of my own take. Frankly, the analysis on the destination Thailand visa has not been too far off. Now, as I've discussed in other videos, I called out the DTV for what it was. I said, look, this is going to be problems. It's the brainchild of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's not really fit to purpose. There's no real consensus on it here locally. On top of that, it doesn't really fit into the immigration system generally. More and more I'm starting to think we just need comprehensive immigration reform here in Thailand. We need a new act. The last time there was a parliamentary act on immigration, it came in 1979, the Immigration Act. But that said, there's also been all of this analysis throughout the internet, erroneous and frankly, kind of miscommunicative of the underlying principles of tax, and that was also mentioned in that video and now mentioned by Mr. Kenyon in this article, quoting directly, "The grass is greener. A common refrain is to sing the praises of neighboring countries such as Cambodia and Vietnam, based, for example, on their assumed freer income tax policies." Yeah, as I discussed in a prior video and in a video some 1 year ago, there seems to be something of what I call a Cold War in terms of, you can call it propaganda, but basically just PR out there involving different countries in Southeast Asia, trying to attract travelers. And one of the tactics out there seems to be throwing other countries under the bus. And one of the easy ways to do it recently, because there's been so much chatter, again, in the ether of the internet, out there on YouTube, whatever you want to call it, there's been a real movement to throw Thailand under the bus regarding tax matters. And, there's some room to do that. I mean, I've been very vocal in my concerns about the way Thailand's going. But as I've discussed in many other videos, and unfortunately, the charlatans and nonsense folks and what I refer to as stamp pimps ran around out there and got everybody all worked up, frankly, unnecessarily in many cases, about their possible tax liability, that it really led to it came to a head in a very unfortunate way where, in my mind, it's actually, and I've done videos on this, it may be driving people away at this point. And again, that's a concern for Thailand. But that said, the point of this video is that, hey, these other jurisdictions, the grass is not necessarily greener. That said, quoting further, "The argument is that Thailand will adopt the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development model to tax expats on their worldwide income, whether transmitted or not." Well, beyond even that, the whole transmission thing, as we discussed in other videos, it may or may not apply depending on the underlying facts in a given case. You may not be accessible. There may not be liability, even if you are accessible. Again, different analysis for that. Each case, the facts are going to dictate the analysis. Meanwhile, this OECD thing, it's not a foregone conclusion Thailand's going to do it. The United States threw it out based clearly on the fact that, and I quote, "it was a threat to national sovereignty." I'm very hopeful Thailand sees the light on that as well. And based on, certain developments which we've reported on this channel, I think there's a good chance that will happen. That said, in reality, and I think Mr. Kenyon seems to kind of be echoing this, In reality, Thailand is wisely showing signs of avoiding that trap, whilst Vietnam and Cambodia are both cooperating with OECD about tax policies. Nothing is certain. Well, yeah, interesting, isn't it? All this talk about how great these other jurisdictions are, and you may be sort of jumping out of the frying pan into the fire, so to speak, because again, depending on where you go, it may not be a greener grass kind of situation. Again, when it comes to tax specifically here in Thailand, the underlying facts in an individual specific case are going to dictate whether or not they really need to worry about all these issues regarding tax assessment, tax liability here in Thailand. Those who are really concerned about it, it's probably a good idea to contact a legal professional, gain some insight and guidance into how best to proceed.